Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mark's Backyard Birds. A frequently asked question and a recommendation to cover this topic of what seed attracts what birds. And I know there are a lot of choices out there in bird seed, and I've talked about many of them. But one of the things I thought I would do, set up first kind of the basis of my information, and then we'll talk about each of these seeds and what birds they tend to attract. And then, there's some that are far reaching and some that are pretty specialized. So I thought I'd go over this. Okay. Years ago, I ran nature centers in my past. And one of the nature centers I was director of was in Pennsylvania. And right before I had gotten there, the staff had conducted an experiment using students, and they really set this study up very, very well. And that was seed preference by birds. And they took painstaking care of putting individual food stations with just single seeds in each station. Sunflower, safflower, peanuts, cracked corn, all these different stations, and they carefully rotated them so that the results wouldn't be biased by how close one was to something like cover or rate. So they put painstaking care into setting this up. And they had the students over time record the visits to each of the stations. What food type got what attention and how much was eaten and what the preferences were. And statistically, they came up with the percentages, and they used those percentages to create their bird seed blend, which was a very high quality blend. So that is some of the information here. And if you've watched me before, we talk about in birds the differences between seeds and grains. Most of the birds that we want to attract are the seed eaters. The grains tend to attract the blackbirds and the house sparrows. Some of the dove, quail, some of the species that they may be somewhat attractive to attack your yard, but they also have a tendency to take over feeders. And so we have to be careful how we do that. So I'm going to cover all that. The first seed that I'm going to talk about, which there's absolutely no way that I can do this program and not talk about black oil sunflower. Far and away, number one in all seed preference tests and of course seed analysis. I actually have the seed analysis on all these slides today, so you can see how good they are. The proteins being high, the fats being high are the two most important numbers whenever you're talking about wild animals needing these, especially in cold weather, but anytime. So when it comes to the best all-around seed, and I have said this many times, if you just want to keep it simple in your yard and you only want to buy one kind of bird seed, just buy black oil sunflower. It is the most widely appealing of all the seeds on the market. And birds like cardinals love it. The rose-breasted grosbeaks love it. Goldfinches love it. Remember, birds like goldfinches don't have the seed cracking ability that a cardinal does, obviously. But the seed coat on black oil sunflower is soft enough that goldfinches can crack it very easily, and pine siskins can actually crack it open. Some of these other birds, but like white-breasted nuthatches and chickadees and titmice, they all eat black oil sunflower. So number one on the list, if you just want to keep it simple, but you want to make sure that you feed black oil sunflower as part of your feeding station. Now, in cheap seed mixes, they mainly throw in junk fillers and grains, and they throw a few sunflowers in there to make you think you're getting some good value for your money. But the single most widely accepted seed that's available, and it's actually very economical, of course, is the black oil sunflower. Now, I get a lot of questions about striped sunflower. Striped sunflower is quite a bit more expensive than black oil sunflower, but it is very, very good for birds and very widely accepted. The problem is the cost and availability. The human consumption market takes a lot of the striped sunflower out there, and of course that drives up the price for us in the wild bird market. But it is very, very attractive to things like the evening grosbeak, and cardinals are in that same family, and rose-breasted grosbeaks in that same family. But a lot of what people favor out of striped sunflower is it is not as accepted by house sparrows and mourning doves because the seed is larger and there are different sizes of striped sunflower. And if you get the medium, especially if you get the large striped sunflower, it is harder for smaller birds to handle. But it's a big reward for things like grosbeaks, which have the ability to crack that open. We sell a little of it. We don't sell very much of it. Like I said, the cost, when people see the cost of that versus the black oil, some people back off and they decide not to buy it. But it is a good quality seed. So now, probably the best seed overall, and when we talk about it being more expensive, of course, are the sunflower kernels, and that is the heart of a sunflower seed. And the hull has been removed for you, and there's 3 different grades of that on the market. There's fines, which is a picture on top, and the mediums, and then the bottom are the coarse or the wholesome, or the kind of the things you find on a salad bar. 3 different sizes, and people that don't want whole waste, they love them. And almost all those same birds that I had on the black oil sunflower picture will eat these. The fines are typically fed in Finch feeders, and the more appealing there. We'll talk about them in a couple more slides here. The mediums, my bluebirds absolutely love them. The Carolina wrens will eat them. Birds that can't crack open a seed, the kernels are very, very attractive to them. And somebody once asked me, by feeding whole a seed, are we contributing to teaching or uneducating, if you will, birds how to crack open a seed? And no, that's not. Remember, birds only get about 10 to 15% of their daily diet from your bird feeders. They're out eating all kind of things during the day. So sunflower, if you're really into clean feeding, the nutritional value is really, look at the fat, 50%. These are high reward seeds for birds, and they're very, very clean, and they attract good quality birds. Now, the one that causes some dissension with people, of course, is safflower. I love safflower seed. It does have a very hard seed coat, but it is very, very high in nutritional value for birds. Now, it does take either a bird that can crack it open, like cardinals, and this is a cardinal in a caged feeder, and a mourning dove. And the reason I have these 2 pictures here is because to show, of course, that cardinals do love safflower, but mourning doves absolutely love it too. And they, of course, they just swallow the seed whole and they grind it up inside of their craw. So a lot of people who feed safflower, to keep the dove from taking over their trade, they use dove cages that the cardinals could get in and out of, but the dove cannot. So, but a lot of birds, either the grosbeaks, house finches love safflower seed. Goldfinches can't crack it open, so they don't use it. Now, I've done a whole program, nothing but NutriSaff, and I'll put a link in for that. But they're similar nutritional values, a little bit higher than regular safflower and a softer seed coat. But safflower is so much more widely distributed than NutriSaff is. I address safflower here. So safflower is good quality seed for your birds. Attracts a lot of different ones. Peanuts are a very high value seed. Lots of oil, lots of fat, high in protein, and birds get a lot of reward from them. But they, of course, are more expensive. Again, we get competition from the human consumption market, peanut oil, all that we have to compete against for pricing. But the thing is, they're like the sunflower kernels, they're 100% food. There's no whole waste. There's nothing. And so feeding them, especially like out of a mesh peanut feeder like that, the birds have to be able to break it up into small pieces to pull it out to eat. And all the woodpeckers love peanuts. The tree clingers, as I say, white-breasted nuthatch, like in this picture, chickadees love them. My Carolina wren picks at them. My bluebirds land on there, and if they can pick out the small pieces, they'll eat the peanuts as well. So birds that have a hard time cracking open a seed hull, they love, especially the more broken parts of peanuts. Some people, I mix them in some at a lower level into my mixes, but by feeding a lot of peanuts, shelled peanuts, as I feed them in a mesh feeder like this, and they are very, very popular. Like I said, the birds get high reward, and of course squirrels love them if they can get to them. So of course you're going to have to take your precautions there. And then another of the more specialty ones I promised here, of course, is our in-shell peanuts. And blue jays are the champion, the bird that you really will enjoy your in-shell peanuts. A few other birds too. Titmice will haul them off, and some of the woodpeckers will take them, but most of those prefer the shelled peanuts, whereas the blue jays love storing acorns and nuts, and so that's why they'll take off and store some of these in-shell peanuts for them. But they, again, high value food. I ration them. I don't put a whole lot out at one time because they'll haul them off. They'll eat a few, then they'll take them off and store them. So I limit my in-shell peanuts, but very high quality reward for birds. And then your finches, the goldfinch mixes. This is my black tie mix, and it's partial Nyjer seed and partial fine sunflower chips, which we just talked about in the sunflower kernels. Again, the kernels, the sunflower kernels, are so much higher in value than the Nyjer is. When you mix them, you bring down the nutritional value for your finches, but it does give them a little diversity of diet. And some people believe that you can't attract goldfinches if you don't feed Nyjer. That is not true at all, but some people do. And of course, Nyjer has the ability, the benefit of not being tasteful to squirrels. So you can feed Nyjer by itself, and squirrels will not typically bother a feeder like that. So your finches, and you can feed them in several different kinds of feeder, but those are high quality rewards for your finch mixes. Now, notice in my finch mixes, and I do not believe in putting millet in here. I don't believe in putting some of those crazy grass seeds that are in some finch mixes. Some of those are not even native, and like Nyjer is not native, but Nyjer can't grow here. It's sterilized, and so it's heated to 500 degrees. And no, it isn't thistle. Thistle and Nyjer completely different. I can put a link to that video as well if you haven't watched that. So these are high value rewards. And then the grains that I talked about at the beginning, millet, the little tiny white BBs. I never mix my millet into my other seed mixes with sunflower and safflower. I feed millet by itself on the ground, because the true lovers of millet seed tend to be the ground feeders, the ones that I want to attract, like juncos and white-throated sparrows and many of the other native sparrows. They love that. And then in my ground throw mix, I throw a little bit of sunflower, a little bit of safflower in there, but it's mostly millet, and that is to take care of those ground feeders. I also use this as I can't beat them, join them for my house sparrows. They want to take over my other feeders. I put this on the ground, and that's where the house sparrows want to feed anyway. So that's kind of my thoughts on feeding millet. It's not that it's a bad seed. It tends to attract a lot of house sparrows, which I don't want. But so I just give it to them on the ground and don't put it in my feeders. So what birds are attracted to what seeds? Great idea for a program. And thanks for sending that in. If you would, give us a like, give us a share, send in ideas for future programs. Until next time, let's talk birds.